And welcome to another episode of Gamerheads. I believe this is episode 41 now. Yay, 41. We're like my age. That's amazing. We're old enough to be halfway dead. So,
starting on a high note. It can only go up from here.
That's right, we're over the hill. My name is Roger, aka Rogue Leader 76, and with me I have B. How are you, B?
Yeah.
So there is no Ben. There is no Jake. Ben, I don't know where Ben is. Ben is missing in action. He said he was going to be in the episode this week, but he's not here. And Jake is at a conference in Chicago, so that's why he's not here.
It's just us.
Just us. So in this episode, we do have an interview later on in the episode. We interviewed the Kevin Wins and the T-Rex of Relentless Rex. So that will be in the show later on. But first, before we get into that, B, I have a little icebreaker here. I always like to start the show off with an icebreaker. And the icebreaker I have here is, what is the very first game that you played that you were just absolutely blown away by? And you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is an amazing game.
Pokemon Red.
Really?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely. I mean, it was just so different because it was cute. But you got the cute things and you made them fight. So
yeah,
it was just so.
That doesn't sound terrible at all.
So bizarre. Like, in real life, you would not make Pokemon fight. No way. But it was okay in the game. And you got your whole RPG. It was just something that was so different. And you know when you pick a game up and you think, this is part of me. Like, this is part of who I am now. I mean, from where I'm sitting, I can see, like, 3 different Pokemon things. I have my Build-A-Bear Squirtle next to me on the desk. Something that as soon as I played it, I kind of figured that it would just always be around somewhere, and it was.
Wow, that's crazy. How old were you when you first played Pokemon Red?
Oh god, look, when did it come out? I can't remember off the top of my head. Let me Google it.
Yeah, I'm not sure myself, actually. While you look that up, I didn't get into Pokemon when it first came out. My first Pokemon game I played was Pokemon Blue. And I picked that up for like $4 used at a used game store, and then I sold it to Jake's store for like $35. So I made a really good deal on that one.
Nice. It came out in 1999, so that would have been 9.
Oh my goodness!
I got it for that Christmas. Yeah.
Do you know how old I was in 1999? Let's see. I would have been 18, 19, 20, 21, 21, 22, 23 years old.
Makes sense that you didn't get into it straight away then because you had stuff to do.
Yeah.
I just had when did the anime come out? I watch that all the time as well. I don't know, I assume it came out around the same time.
Yeah.
So in that case I had nothing to do except for Pokemon.
Yeah. See, I was in college and I was playing GoldenEye. No, I wasn't playing GoldenEye at that point anymore. I don't know what I was. It must have been PlayStation for me in 1999. So that's crazy. Wow. All right. Thanks for making me feel old, B.
I got GoldenEye secondhand, and somehow, like, I was not interested. It was just kind of one of the extras that I got with it, and somehow, you know, the cheat code that gave everyone a big head.
Yes.
And I didn't realise that wasn't how the game was supposed to be. And I hated the game. I didn't understand it. I couldn't play it. And suddenly everyone's walking around with giant heads, which should have made it easier.
You know, that game is so, it was so iconic. But nowadays, I can't play that game. There's no way I could play that game. Could not play that game. For me, the game that blew me away when it first came out was, oh my goodness, now I can't. Oh, Blaster Master. Yeah. Have you played that game?
I haven't.
So in this game, it was just a silly concept. Your pet frog mutates and turns into this giant frog and jumps down this hole, and then you jump down the hole after him. But then when you get down there, you find this like tank, this car, and what was cool about it was you could drive around in the tank and then jump out of your tank and then swim around as like yourself as a little person, and then go into different like levels. So like sometimes you'd have to go in as the tank, and then sometimes you'd go in as your little guy. And when you walked into levels as your little guy, you would have this top down. So it was all like side scrolling before this, but then when you walked into levels as your character, you'd have this top down view, like zoomed in top down view of the levels, and the bosses were really hard, and it was amazing. It was such a great game. And they re-released it on the 3DS and the Switch, so it is available for people to pick up now, and it's better graphics. But that was on the NES, and it was so hard. We made it to the last boss, and it was a game that you didn't have, you couldn't save, so there was no saves. You had so many lives, and we died. We couldn't beat the last boss. It was so hard. So amazing.
That sounds so bizarre. When you said your pet frog gets gigantic, I was not expecting it to take the direction it did.
I think your pet's frog's name was Fred too. I mean, it was just a weird game. Game.
Sometimes they're the best. They're the ones that you remember.
Yeah. It was made by Sunsoft. So it was So I mean, if that's it, it is available on the 3DS and the Switch now. And it's like almost the same exact game, except just, revamped with better graphics. It is easier now because I think they do have save points in the game, so it's a little bit easier. So,
yeah, but I think it would exclude a lot of players if they didn't include that option.
Yeah.
I wouldn't play.
Yeah, gamers nowadays, they don't know what it was like. That was like one of the, I would say it was one of the early games that I got on the NES too, so it was pretty cool. So, cool. So like I said, Jake's not here this week, and neither is Ben. So we don't have anything cool or unique that came into Jake's collection. So we'll move right into the Gamerheads Newsflash.
The Gamerheads Newsflash.
All right, so I have a few items, and B, if you have anything, you can go ahead and jump in. So the very first thing that I have here, I don't know if you heard this or not or saw this, but Ted Dabney, co-founder of Atari, he passed away recently.
Sad.
Yeah. Did you have an Atari growing up?
My cousin did, and it was one of the very first time I ever played games. We head upstairs when all the other kids were playing outside and play on the Atari. See how long we could wait for before anyone noticed we were playing video games and not in the treehouse.
Yeah, Atari was my very first, well, technically my very first system I had was a Pong machine, which is hilarious. It was actually my dad's machine. But then we bought an Atari 2600, and I mean, I remember playing Pitfall and Pac-Man, hours and hours of Pac-Man. And, I remember thinking, oh, this is so amazing. And like, now I can't really play Atari games anymore. I can play Pac-Man, but, like, some of the games that were on the system were, I just can't play anymore. But it was certainly a game changer. And, yeah, it was sad that he passed away. Another item that I saw here was that, did you hear about this? There was a game, a school shooting simulator that was on Steam. Did you hear about this?
I did. I saw that.
And it's been pulled since then. But, I'm not one to say that, I'm not one to censor people's creativity or censor games or anything like that, but come on, like that, I don't know. I feel like that was in bad taste.
I mean, with the amount of school shootings that are horrifically happening in the US over the last few months, the last few years, just not the right anything.
No, yeah. So, I mean, I'm glad it got pulled. Like I said, I'm not one to say, like, somebody shouldn't make a game or shouldn't, I don't know, stifle somebody's creativity, but that seems like that was just really in poor taste, and I mean, what were they thinking? I don't know. It just seems it was for shock value. That's all it was.
That's the thing. I've seen a lot of people say, but freedom of creativity. Personally, if I'm going to kind of take the stance of freedom of creativity, which is very important to me, I'm going to use it for something that somebody is trying to get out there to make a positive change, even if it might appear, not exactly how we do things, not exactly, even if it's controversial, if it's for a good reason, it has a good message. To me, that's when you kind of get on board the whole kind of freedom of creativity thing. Not right now.
Yeah.
For this.
Yeah. No, and we've talked about that in one of our previous episodes too, is that I do feel that the game industry has a responsibility to the messages that they promote. And I mean, it's a form of art, right? So I mean, if we're gonna hold musicians and artists to that same level of responsibility, then I think that game developers also should be held to that same level of responsibility, and make games that are I'm not saying that every game has to make a difference or make a point. I mean, obviously there is something about entertaining and getting people out of the mindset of maybe the day-to-day grind that they have, but certainly I think that there has to be a responsibility of making a positive change, like you said.
Yeah, there's consequences to everything that we do, and I think our main responsibility, even outside of as creators or the workplace as people, is to try and make sure that any consequences that might come about because of something we've created or something we've said or something we've done is something that's good.
Yeah. So be a force of good, people, not a force of bad. Did you see this? The new Assassin's Creed game got revealed. Did you see what the game is?
I did. We've had a lot of tweets about it.
Yeah. Odyssey. So it sounds like it might take place as part of Homer's Odyssey. So that's interesting.
Very cool.
Doesn't Homer's Odyssey, doesn't that last like 40 days or something like that? Isn't that?
I haven't. I was going to say, let me see if I can find out, but I actually have no idea how to spell Odyssey anymore.
I don't either. Well, you have a reason for not able to spell Odyssey. I just can't spell the word at all.
It's a very long story. I am imagining they're just going to pull from the cool parts.
Yeah. Like when they all turn into pigs and stuff like that. By the witch? Because that happens.
It certainly seems like it might be more fantastical than the other Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Magic in there. A bit more magic.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't pretend to be massively familiar with them. I've played part of the first one, I think it was, and I've seen parts of the others played, but they're amazing games, but just not my kind of, personally.
Yeah. I will say, if you do get a chance, do try Origins out, because it is different than the other Assassin's Creed games in the fact that you can explore ancient Egypt, and that is pretty awesome. In fact,
very cool.
And they did have a separate game mode where you can just, all you do is like explore temples and tombs and pyramids, and that sounds so cool. So I hope they do.
And the kind of thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say that's definitely the kind of thing I think that's going to get people into games they wouldn't ordinarily play. Things like history tours.
Yeah. Well, and I know that schools are using that too as a history tool. I'm hoping they do that same thing with this game. If it's really based off of Homer's Odyssey, I hope that they would do like a whole like story, like we can just kind of explore, Homer's Odyssey through this game. That would be amazing.
Sure. Odd is that to read for, especially if we're talking about kind of the way schools are using it. Children reading Odyssey is not always going to sink in the first time. It's a very difficult thing to read. So anything like that, I think it can kind of pave a new, just kind of. I know whenever we tackled something tricky when I was in school, if it was Frankenstein or of Mice and Men, they would show us the movie in between reading the book to try and help it to sink in. But then obviously, it's usually completely different to the book. If they've got the actual history tours going on in the Assassin's Creed games now, I think that's going to kind of open up that avenue that they tried to use then with movies.
Yeah. And it's more interactive, so that's kind of cool.
Kind of like Leapfrog for older kids.
Kind of like. Or back in my day, kind of like Oregon Trail. B, I know you've seen this, but did you see that the new, I don't even know why I'm asking you this, the Pokemon games have been revealed. What do you think of that?
I will tell you this because people are going to find out anyway. We were watching the new trailer. I was like, I'm excited. This is going to be great. And then by the end time the trailer had finished, I was crying. I had no idea why. It just hit me that hard.
Really? Like crying, like tears of joy?
I was so embarrassed. Yeah, I don't even know. I was just crying. I was very happy, but I was not expecting it.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know I was that much of a Pokemon fan, but it made me feel very emotional. And I tried to pre-order it straight away, but I couldn't.
Wow.
Just register your interest. So.
Have you played? So the games that are being announced then was the what is it called? Pokemon Let's Go, right? Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, right?
Yeah.
And those look really... I actually am really super excited about those games because it mixes the Pokemon Go with this game, and you can play with 2 players, and I'm super excited about that, playing that game with my daughter. Because we used to play Pokemon Go, and then I stopped playing Pokemon Go because it was eating my data, and I just didn't... I didn't want to continue to do that. But I think this is going to be so awesome to be able to play this game with my daughter. And I showed her the video yesterday, and it was pretty awesome because she was like leaning up against me, her arms on my shoulder, and she was just like, "Oh my God, this looks so amazing!" And I was like, "Oh man, this was me when I was her age, So
that's so sweet.
Yeah, it was cool. And then they're coming up with a RPG in 2019 for the Switch, so it'll be more like along the lines of the Moon or Sun. Those types of games. I don't know if it's gonna be. I mean, I'm assuming they're gonna have a different title for this game. It won't be Pokemon Sun or Moon again. But and then they came up with Pokemon Quest, which was free. Well, it's free to play, I should say. Free to start, right?
Yeah, free to start.
So you've been playing that. I've been playing that. What do you think of that game?
I mean, I love that you kind of start out and it's all cute. You've got your little island with your Pokemon, and you pick one, and then it just murders everything in sight, and you can't stop it. He's just rampaging through a field, and it's like you decide the only thing you can do is help him because he is your friend. Kind of like when one of your friends is starting a fight, and you know that they're in the wrong, but and you just need to make sure you've got the back, and that's exactly what this game is. My little Bulbasaur is just rampaging through fields, destroying everything. I'm just trying to help him out. I'm not quite sure why.
I know. Well, that's the one thing that I thought about too. Like, I thought I could control where my Pokemon go, and then they just they're like you said, they're just murdering every Pokemon. Like, there's Pokemon ahead, wild Pokemon. Let's get them. I'm like, whoa. Let's see if maybe we can befriend them first. No, we gotta destroy them. I will say, for a free game, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
Or just the fun of kind of watching attack things. I mean, I haven't played it for that long. When you cook food to encourage new Pokemon to come.
Yeah, that's
it's
cool.
My Bulbasaur to destroy them as well.
Yeah,
but thankfully he didn't.
Yeah, I know, right? Like these Pokemon come and you're like, well, if you're gonna eat with us, that's fine. But we see you in the wild, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
Yeah. I do like the art in the game. I mean, it's just it kind of reminds me of Minecraft, and it's a little different, but yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought it was a pretty cool game. So.
You know what I do wish they would do with Pokemon Let's Go, seeing as it's linking with Pokemon Go. is did you play Gold and Silver?
I did not.
If you bought the special edition, you got this tiny Pokeball with a screen. And it was essentially a Tamagotchi. You would upload one of your Pokemon from your game into the Tamagotchi, and they'd come up on the screen. You walked and did steps. It was a pedometer, it counted it, and I think it leveled them up. I think it did, yeah.
Oh.
And it kind of helped you bond with them. And it was just a really nice... I mean, I did more walking then than I have done ever since. Because you've got to get my Pokemon steps up. Not only was it kind of a really extra thing to bring it into world, but it would link very well with Pokemon Go. I think that'd be a great idea. I'd love that.
Yeah. Well, and they're coming up with that Pokeball that you can use to catch.
Yeah.
So... And you saw that video where they brought it to the restaurant and they're like, "Oh, look at my Pikachu in here," and it was like talking, and okay, that's kind of weird. But...
I love it.
Are you gonna get the Pokemon ball then when it comes out?
I'll have my Pikachu on the shelf that came out when the anime came out first, and if you press him underneath, he says his name and his little cheeks light up, and it still works. And that's got to be about 20 years old now.
Wow.
Yeah, probably.
yeah, probably. Nice. So yeah. Do you have any other news items, B?
On that, as everyone might have seen on social, it's Pride Month this month.
Oh yeah.
And Sony have made a new free theme to celebrate Pride Month. So go and download that. It's free.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, go out there, support that. That's really cool. So. Well, that's all. Unless you have something else, that's all I have for the news.
No, I don't have anything else. Not just no.
Okay. Well, then let's take a break here. When we come back, then we'll go into our interview with Kevin and the T-Rex from Relentless Rex. Stay tuned.
Have you ever been reading through a stack of comics and thought, hey, maybe I should see what this Arkham Asylum game is all about? Or been playing Marvel vs. Capcom and felt like you were at a real disadvantage because you didn't know who half the characters were? Well, Play Comics is the show for you. I'm Chris, and each episode, I take a look at video games based on comic book properties and how well they stick to that source material. So, whether you know the comics and want to actually learn how these games work, or know the games and want to know what the hell is going on, go check out Play Comics at playcomics.com, the Brain Trust Bros Network, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Hey, it's Carrington from Real Dudes Podcast, and with me I have some fantastic co-hosts. Guys, why don't you introduce yourselves?
This is Andrew, coming to you from Lynchburg, Ohio.
This is Cody, coming from you also from Ohio.
And this is Kyle, coming to you straight from the armpits of West Virginia. We are an indie gaming podcast. We all share a love for games, and you can check out our show on Podbean. Just search for Real Dudes Podcast. You can also find us on iTunes, Google Play, really any of the podcasting outlets that you like to use. Again, that is Real Dudes Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you love video games, you will love our show.
What's up, everybody? I'm Tyler.
I'm Lucas. And I'm Chris.
And we're better than Static. We meet up once a week and talk about movies, comics, and video games.
I don't want to talk about that.
Why are you complaining about all the topics I bring up? I'm trying to sound professional, Chris.
But we're not that good.
We are too good.
We may not be great, but we are better than Static.
You guys can hit up iTunes, Podbean, Google Play, and YouTube to check us out.
Remember that feeling of playing an ultra-hard video game and dying? Over and over and over? Ah! Yeah, so do we. Listen to the Controller Throwers podcast on iTunes and Google Play. And check out the live show every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time at twitch.tv/TCThrowers. The Controller Throwers, pressing start since 1985.
So you've been listening to our podcast, and you've been thinking, you know what? I can do that. Yeah, you can. You can go through Podbean, our affiliate, and you can get 1 month free by going to podbean.com/GHPC. Podbean is what we use to host our podcast as well. On Podbean, you can host your podcast, and you can publish it there. It's actually quite simple to use. Again, to get 1 month free, you can go to podbean.com/GHPC. That stands for Gamerheads Podcast. All right, thanks everyone, and back to the show. And welcome back to Gamerheads. And this week we have a special guest. We have Kevin Wins. Is that how you pronounce the last name, Kevin?
Yes.
We have Kevin Wins, and he is the developer of Relentless Rex, which is in production right now, and you have a Kickstarter. So, we want to have you on the show and talk about your game. So, Kevin, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you guys for having me. Like you said, my name's Kevin Wins. I'm a developer and artist working on Relentless Rex, the game. My background is more so in art direction, illustration, advertising, multimedia. This is my first foray into game development. With a T-Rex, as you may have heard, he has brought me on to help him with some art assets and some development type tasks.
I was going to say, how come I'm second on the bill?
And then we have Rex along with us. Hi, Rex. How are you?
Yeah. Hi. Kevin gets introduced first. I see where this is going already. Fantastic. Man, how much do you weigh, little man?
Too much. So
not enough for me, baby. I like them big. Little morsel.
We have a couple of questions here for you. I guess for both of you. B, if you want to take the first question, we'll just go back and forth then.
Sure. We were wondering about your studio, for example, assuming that Rex hasn't eaten anyone. The team size working on your game.
Yes, it is a very small team at this point, and the studio, in quote marks, is my home office at this point, and there may be a connection between it just being me and Rex, but you'll have to ask Rex about that. I'm the first person that he's brought on, so whether or not there's a reason for that, I'm sure he can speak to that.
I don't like people. I'm like a T-Rex version of Archie Bunker minus the racism. Except for raptors, I hate raptors. They're just loud and they spit all over the place. So, Kevin is very cool man, very talented, and he likes spicy food, and I've got a bit of a sodium issue, so it was kind of like a match made in heaven, if you say.
And so Rex, are you kind of directing this game then? Is this like your story? Is this your life or what?
It's like an ESPN 30 for 30 of my story. Just running after people and eating them and screaming. I love screaming. It's like if I could have been in Journey, I would have done that. Like, someday love will find you. And running, screaming, eating. It's just the whole shebang, baby. Hi-oh.
Okay. So tell us about what inspired you to be a game developer, Kevin?
Where'd Kevin go?
I don't know.
Oh my god.
Did you eat him?
Sometimes. Well, I have this thing where I fall asleep and just eat stuff. Oh, there he is.
Can you guys hear me?
You can hear you now.
So, even though development may have seemed like an obvious fit for me, it's not really the initial career path I went down, which was more advertising and graphic design. But as that path sort of took me more and more away from my illustration roots, which I really have a passion for and really missed, I decided to take a step back from my freelance work and take a crack at this crazy game development thing, which is, to me, just sort of that perfect intersection of art, that hand-drawn animation and interactivity.
Cool. Nice.
What games inspired you?
So I'm a late 80s, early 90s kid, so I love modern games, but I certainly have a soft spot for, that Super NES era. So 2D animation, side-scrolling Metrovanias, obviously Castlevania is a big influence on me. That was one of my very first gaming experiences, Contra, that sort of stuff. And the 3/4 top-down action adventures like Link to the Past, Secret of Mana, those are sort of my big influences growing up, and I would say probably some of the biggest inspirations for just where I take not only the art style but the development itself of.
I just want to say for the record that Dino Crisis and Turok Dinosaur Hunter have no influence on this game. This is about dinosaurs eating stuff and not pesky humans hunting us. That doesn't happen in real life. That's a joke. This game is a work of reality.
Thanks for the input there, Rex. So tell us about the game then itself. A little bit about the game itself, the gameplay, and what the story is behind the game.
Absolutely. So Relentless Rex, the game, it's a claw-drawn action-adventure platformer about Rex's all-time favorite hunts. Players help characters explore and race through dangerous locations using power-ups and weapons to try and escape Rex. But when things have settled down and players aren't being chased, then they can interact with the game's characters, go on little side quests. So in a way, I think we've developed something of a unique mashup here where you're alternating from action segments to funny little adventure quests. And the tone of the game, much like Rex himself, that we're trying to strike a balance of here is something that's fun but has sort of a dark, twisted sense of humor, something with a little, scary undercurrent to it.
When I originally pitched this project to Kevin, I said, I want you to pretend that you're Clarice from The Silence of the Lambs. Come into my cell, and then just let me tell you about all of my amazing journeys. And I just realized Kevin was pretty cool, and we started to laugh, but there was a lot of scary stuff, and so we just mixed it all together, and it's freaking awesome.
Sounds good.
Not very comfortable though.
He's tough though. Don't let him fool you.
And what inspired the game, maybe outside of the games that we've already mentioned in the last couple of questions?
Actually likes to market this game as if Bit Trip Runner made Sweet Love with Rampage, and 9 months later. Sweet, right?
Yes.
And then 9 months later, that their illicit love child was raised by Rayman, who's the family butler. Then that creation would be named Relentless Rex, the game.
It's like even if you're a T-Rex, you have to love Rayman. It's so goddamn pretty. Those Ubisoft people. I mean, if I'm going to eat everybody, I'll start with like EA and Activision, but never Ubisoft. Oh my God, so pretty.
So to dig a little bit deeper into those references with Rayman, then obviously that's a quality 2D platformer that's really elevated with a gorgeous art style and animation. I think Rex was really trying to keep that aesthetic in mind when he was claw drawing his prehistoric jungle levels.
Yes, claw drawn.
We got it. Yep. Then for the Bit Trip Runner reference, there's just something about that game that's just so smooth and hypnotic, and it stands out to me from other running games because you can just tell that each level's been carefully crafted and not randomly generated, and everything just feels right in that game, even when the difficulty ramps up. So I think Rex was trying to pull from the best parts of that during the action sequences, including some of those light musical cues that are tied into the action. Nice. And then Rampage is pretty obvious: death, destruction, carnage.
And I think, Kevin, you need to discuss your love of film, because I think that plays a part too. Right now I'm interviewing you. I'm so perfect.
Sure, yeah. So this is going to seem like a strange reference, but Psycho, I think, is a little bit of a touch point for this game, and Alfred Hitchcock in general. I think that, him being the master of suspense. There's really a lot that I tried to pull from that in terms of just those pockets of time in between knowing something bad is going to happen and then that bad thing actually happening, just building that tension, that space in between is just something where I think you can really pull people in. Spoilers for a 60-year-old film, but the main character in Psycho is killed in the middle of the movie. I'm not saying that's a hint to this game. I am saying that there are going to be other characters in the game.
Oh, I'm not dying. I'm picture of health.
Right. But that was just I'm sure it was so shocking back then, right? To just have, halfway through the middle of the film, just have your main character just up and die. But even by today's standards, I really encourage people to go back and check that out. Like, that is just a really ballsy move for a film to do. And those kinds of surprises and big moves are something that I really love to try and integrate into the game, to just do things that are surprising, to not just settle for what's come before and copy it.
So did you go through any major artistic changes during the development, and why, if you did?
Say there were any changes with the process, but the game definitely became darker visually and more twisted in tone. I would say that it really starts to shift in appearance and becomes darker and more menacing, achieved through color changes. There was a turning point, and please don't judge. I had this crazy thought as I was working on the game that what if, when this meteor crashes beside this baby dinosaur, what if it sets his head on fire, and what if he then has to run through the rest of the level like that? So I wrestled with that notion a bit, like how would that come across? How would people perceive that? Like, it seemed a little extreme to me just at the beginning, but finally once I came down on the side of, all right, I think I can do that, and I gave myself permission to do that, then it kind of informed the tone of the game and how the game was going to progress from sort of not only a lighter color palette, but like a lighter tone to something that becomes a little bit more menacing. So because of that, I like to say that the game is sort of settled somewhere between Cartoon Network and Castlevania horror.
Oh, interesting.
And what made you decide to go with hand-drawn?
It's not hand-drawn, it's claw-drawn. Just because you have a great voice like me doesn't mean you can insult me.
So, yeah, hand-drawn art. Or claw-drawn art.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think it is because both Rex and I are certifiably insane. That process is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, I love the look of hand-drawn art. There's just a certain character and a certain personality to it that you can't really achieve otherwise. But, the process is you sketch it out on paper, you have to ink it, scan it, clean it up. And in my case, I just thought that wasn't enough. I didn't give myself enough to do. So then I want to vectorize it. That way I can scale it to any size I want to for, posters or whatever it is that I want to use. Then digitally color it and then optimize it for the game itself. So it's a pretty time-intensive process, but one that I felt was justified just because, again, illustration is a passion of mine. So pencil to paper is just something that I really love to do. And even if it causes me a lot of grief and really drags out the process, it's just something that I'm invested in.
Nice.
Now imagine that process with me behind you, drooling on your neck and saying, oh, that's awesome. And I tried to give him a massage, but I have really long talons and I kind of scratched him up. It's not a nice day.
And I'm sure
that's why you brought me in, right? Like you were having trouble with those claws, sort of getting this artwork done. That's one of the reasons why I was brought in, is my understanding.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't do it by myself, and I'm so happy I brought you along. Puny human.
I'm sure getting drool all over your drawings probably didn't help either. So, so Kevin, so right now you're in Kickstarter right now. So tell us a little bit about the different levels that you have and how people can support you.
The base level for the game really is at $15. That's something where you get the game itself, your name in the credits, and then you get to vote in content that's added to the game. I'll circle back around to that later because I think that's a pretty significant part of how this Kickstarter campaign functions. But coming up from that, you can get T-shirts. Here's where you have Rex's jaws is sort of the center of the poster, and then he photoshops your head into those jaws. And so this is like a high resolution, full size poster that you can print out, or depending on which level, which tier you decide to support, or Rex will print it out for you that you can literally put on your wall and just have as sort of a bragging rights that you took part in making a game.
And be reminded of my awesomeness every time you look at the wall.
Yes. You need you need that affirmation, right, Rex?
All the time. My wife tells me all the time my hands are too small and gives me a complex.
Yeah, and so there's actually some Relentless Rex boxer shorts here. I wanted to point that out because Rex likes to pitch that as once you play my game, all the jump scares will require that you need a new pair of these Relentless Rex boxer shorts. I kind of like to say, you can put those on and show them to your significant other and just let them interpret however they want to.
Unless you play the game while you have the boxes on, then that would just be nasty, unless you're into that stuff.
You can work with Rex to do music, to create weapons and power-ups, Rex mutations, create your own environment, non-playable characters, and you can even do side quests, what assets you think would be needed for that. So
cool.
That's something where you can really have a pretty hefty say in what's going on in the game.
Nice.
Next, something that everyone likes hearing about. What platforms do you plan to release on?
For starters, we're doing PC, Mac, and Steam. But further down the line, we're looking at Switch, PS4, and Xbox One ports. So that's maybe not in the cards immediately, though.
Further down the line.
And what's your marketing plan for the game then?
If you don't play the game, we eat you. Kevin messages you, he's all nice and says, please, play the game, and if you don't answer, and we see seen on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, then I come to your house and I eat you. It's pretty effective so far.
Well, if you eat them, then they can't play the game, though, right?
But they eat their wallet too.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some logic to that.
The credit cards come out the other way.
I don't want to hear it. No. Kickstarter obviously is sort of a way to not only help get people invested in the game, but sort of get yourself out there. But then social media is the big way that Rex has been trying to put himself out there, and I've been trying to point people in his direction as well, doing interviews, doing articles, that sort of thing. So
nice.
And what game? Oh, sorry.
Just going to say that I was told by Roger that coming on this show would basically guarantee the Kickstarter got funded. So that's
I don't
personal guarantee.
Well, we're not Game Informer. We're not like IGN. We're a very small podcast. So.
Okay. I mean, I guess I misheard that.
That's what Kevin told me.
The whole 10 people that listen to our podcast may back you. So
that's like brunch. 10 people for me.
What games are you currently playing right now, and what games are you most looking forward to?
Question for me, because I don't get to play too often. I have a game buying habit more so than I have a game playing habit.
Me too.
I've had a PS4 for 2-3 years, and I wait for those sales on Tuesday or the flash sales that come on the weekend sometimes, and I'll buy up a bunch of games. But over 100 digital games on my PS4, and I've probably played 30 of them. Witcher 3, Arkham Knight, Horizon Zero Dawn. I don't even know what the title screens look like on those games. It's actually really like I own them, but I don't even know what the title screens look like, which is super sad. That said, within the past, I don't know, month or so, these are not very current titles, but I've been into Flint Hook, and I've actually gotten around to playing finally the Last Guardian. I'm enjoying those, and I have 2 girls, so we like to play Lara Croft Go, actually on in HD TV, which holds up amazingly well, and Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time. Have you guys heard of that one?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's kind of what I've been semi-recently playing. I'm actually looking forward to the new God of War. I'm a big fan of that series, but again, it's a lot of brand new. That's a lot of money to put down for that game, knowing that I may not get to it for 6 months.
Yeah.
Do you guys care about what I'm playing?
Absolutely.
Yes, go ahead.
I feel very alone right now. Okay. All right. I'm playing Songbringer on the Switch right now. It's pretty gangster. It's like Legend of Zelda, but procedurally generated. Also, West of Loathing, which is like a stick figure turn-based RPG. That's pretty cool. Pokemon Quest thinks I'm so mad. It's like a cash cow. It's like some of those Pokemon, they look like my children, and I'm kind of like the Will Chamberlain of the jungle, so I try and look out for them, but it's not connecting with me. I'm also playing this pretty cool point-and-click game called The Padre. The voice actor there, I heard, is a very sexy man. And of course, NHL 2018, because the Ice Age, when it killed all of my family, it forced me to learn how to skate and play hockey, and I'm a pretty damn good centerman, if you ask me.
Playing a lot of games, man.
Yeah, that is a lot of games for a Rex, yeah.
I have a big man cave. It's like half the jungle.
So this might be a little premature, but do you have any other like ideas or projects that that you would like to tackle after this?
So many ideas waiting in the wings. I literally have them bleeding out of my ears, but the Relentless Rex is the one and only baby for now. So it's difficult. I'm sure for a lot of game developers, it's difficult to be working on your game and have all of these the flood of ideas just come in for game 2, 3, 4, 5. But for now, I'm definitely super laser focused on it, right, Rex?
Yes, we're going to make video games great again.
So how can people get a hold of you, Kevin, and then Rex will ask you?
Relentless Rex has a website. It's relentlessrex.com. Rex and I are both on Twitter. That's kind of where we roam the most. I'm at Kevin Wins, KevinWyNNS, and Rex is at Relentless_Rex. Apparently somebody had already taken just straight up Relentless Rex.
I'm so mad about it. They don't even use the account. It's wrong. It's not right.
Exactly. But Kickstarter, that's really where I want to point people right now. Especially with these higher level campaigns, if you have the money, you can work with Rex to create weapons, power-ups, environments, side quest characters, and for example, for $220, this is the power-up weapon tier. So for that, you get to develop that, and it gets put into the game.
Nice.
You get 2 copies of the game. You get original claw-drawn artwork from the game.
Thank you, Kevin.
You get to vote in the backer polls, which I'll talk about in just a second. You get that custom digital poster that we talked about, and you get your name in the credits, and you get put on Rex's do not eat list.
Yes, very important.
While $220 is not cheap, I personally think that's actually a pretty good deal, especially when you're considering that last part.
That's true.
If price is also an issue, then we've also set up a system where every backer that supports at the $15 level, they get to submit their own original ideas for weapons, for NPCs, and even for the next playable character in the game.
Wow.
Rex asks that you don't ask what happened to that first one. So backers then, after the submissions come in, they get put up in a poll, and then all the backers for the game, they then vote in that poll for what they think is the best idea. And then whatever wins that poll, Rex creates it, he draws it, he puts it in the game. So for only $15, not only do you get the game, but you also get a say in what's added to the game. Plus, you have multiple chances for the assets that you've created or submitted to actually be put in the game.
Nice.
That you'll then own and be able to play.
It doesn't get much better than that.
Exactly. So those first few jungle levels that you see in the trailer, those are basically complete. But everything moving forward is being crowdsourced in this way from Kickstarter by the backers.
Nice.
So I really encourage people that want to back to make this thing as crazy as they want. If they want to have Rex be some kind of crazy alien queen Rexzilla with a chest-bursting parasite and chasing a transforming robot out through a spaceship's airlock, they can do that. They can just make it absolutely as crazy as they want.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Exactly. And so the bottom line is that the backers are really just being given the agency to radically change this game and take it in any kind of crazy direction they want.
Nice. That sounds fun.
Exactly. And I think that backer poll thing is I don't know, not to toot Rex's horn, but I think that that backer poll thing is really a pretty radical way to have people involved and giving them a chance to put their stamp on a game that they can actually play. And personally, I think it's a pretty unique opportunity for Joe Blow on the street to help shape the game. You don't have to have any experience. You don't have to know anything about game development whatsoever. So I would encourage people, that sounds like something that they want to be a part of. A relative that's really into games, this would be a pretty cool gift. I mean, at that $15 price point, I don't think you're really going to find anything else like that. And the campaign ends in 4 days, so best get on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Was there anything else that you wanted to say before we say goodbye?
Something very witty to say to close us out.
I don't like being put on the spot. How my last relationship ended, and it was sad. It's like a Carpenter song. Why do birds suddenly appear, and then I eat them when they are near? But I just want to say to bridge off of that Carpenter song and be a little witty. Just like me, they long to be close to you. Like this whole campaign is about bringing gamers together and experiencing a wonderful claw-drawn adventure. And if that's not your cup of tea, then we just eat you.
I will say it looks really awesome. I mean,
that's right, it does.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm excited about this game. I saw it and I was like, wow, this is really amazing. So, nice. Congratulations. And if you have the means, please back this game because this looks really amazing.
And I won't say thank you to anyone that hasn't backed it, because if they haven't backed it, then I can't congratulate them for continuing to live.
Well, I'd like to thank both of you for being on our show.
Thank you.
And when it comes out, we'll have you guys back on and we can talk more about the game. So,
thank you for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, and stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Gamerheads. I hope you enjoyed that interview. It was very interesting. So go out there and support that Kickstarter for them. Before we go then, let's talk about the games that we're currently playing. What games are you playing right now?
We got Ikaruga on the Switch the other day.
Oh, you did?
So good.
Yeah.
We downloaded it because obviously it was a big inspiration apparently for Nier Automata.
Oh, was it really? I didn't know that.
So yeah, apparently it was a very big inspiration all around for it, and I can kind of see it looking at the artwork now. It is the funnest played that I've ever played. I love it, and I was not expecting to really like it going in. Brett, my partner, bought it, and he was saying, "You'd love this. Try it." We were playing it for ages. It's so hard, but it's so fun.
Wow, that's
difficult
awesome.
Way you don't mind if you die.
Yeah. It looks good. I was tempted to pick that up myself. It reminds me of. Have you played the game Danmaku? I think that's how.
No, I haven't.
It's a similar. It's a shoot 'em up like that, where you're in a spaceship and then you have to fight against different bosses and stuff like that. So I liked that game, and I think I'll pick this game up then too.
I mean, shooting games are always fun, but you have, so you've got to shoot, and your shield is one color, and your enemies will fire two different colors at you, red and blue. So you have to make sure your shield is the same color as anything you might get hit by, so you're invulnerable to it.
Wow.
But then if you play two-player, that's where it's fun. Obviously, one of you can kind of take one color and one can take the other. Take the specific enemies that shoot down others, but then you will have to change as well. So it's kind of having to keep an eye on everything while trying to do your one job you've got to do.
Wow.
It's really good.
That sounds
really
so
fun.
cool. That sounds so cool. Oh my gosh, that sounds really cool. I'll have to pick that up. I wonder if I can convince my wife to play that game, because that sounds fun.
Fun.
Any other games you're playing?
And casual Mario Kart. All the usual.
Yeah. Are you still playing Plantera?
On and off. I haven't played it for a couple of days. I've been playing Pocket Camp the last couple of days. Because Plantera is kind of like my bedtime game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. Because it's just like kind of lying down, right? Yeah.
What level are you now?
I am level 31, I think.
How big's your farm? Is it gigantic?
It is, so one thing that I will say, that this happens to me all the time. I'll be like, so you know that drill guy that goes by? Do you know what I'm talking about? In the game?
Oh, the knight with the little drill
joust. Yeah. Like, I don't understand what that's about. I mean, I just keep hitting him and I get crap tons of coin on it.
Yeah, I think he's just like a valiant knight on his way to save a princess, and you're just beating him on the way past till all his gold falls out.
That's just terrible. But then every time he passes the little arrow, like where you can expand your farm, I accidentally expand the farm. I'm like, no, saving up money to buy another dog.
Every time as well. I do it all the time. Or if you are trying to fend off a wolf or a fox and they're in front of the sign.
Yes.
Accidentally hits the sign, and now your farm's even bigger and it's even more stressful.
Yes. That has happened to me several times now. I have probably like 8 dogs now, though, that are like roaming the area. The game is just so like, I don't know. It's like, it's such a casual game, but it's still fun. I don't know.
The point where, so you'll have your threats, like we mentioned before, you'll have your rabbits that will eat your carrots. But I have so many crops now. Ignore the rabbits and just focus on the wolves, because they'll take away your sheep and your pigs.
Yeah.
So I just kind of let the rabbits and the birds do what they want, because there's so many fruits and crops that are all over the place. So
I know, and I always feel bad when I scare away a bird or a rabbit, because I'm like, well, they just want to eat. Like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah. The birds, when they get a little bit of fruit and they're flying off and they look well happy, and then you can just hit them with a hammer and make them drop it.
I know. I'm like, give that back to me. That's mine.
And then going to pick up my hundreds of other fruits that are all over the floor that I haven't picked up yet.
I know. It's like, what's one piece of fruit that's going to give me like 2 coins, right? Yeah, I know. Oh, that's funny. That game is so crazy. I've been playing. Have you heard of this game called Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon?
I've looked at the trailer a few times.
Actually, I told Brad about this game, and I said, you have to play this game.
About it.
Yeah.
That'll be
weird. So if you like Castlevania, this game is definitely for you. I mean, it's It's like Castlevania 3 except better. You get to your character, your main character is a demon hunter, and he's hunting these demons. And the first 4 bosses you fight unlock other characters that you can play. So the first character you unlock is a girl that can jump higher. And I think that this was part of their stretch goals, that they would make this it looks like an NES game. They're going to make this NES style game, and then they're coming up with the actual Bloodstained game, which is like more modern looking, and it's going to star this girl. I think her name is Miriam, I think it is.
That's very cool. That's a really interesting way to approach it.
Yeah, right. So they launched this. They made their stretch goals. They launched this game first, and it's getting tons of high remarks. It's such a great game. I'm at the last boss right now, and I don't really want to beat it because it's so good. But in the boss fights they're so different. They're so cool. The crazy thing about this game, what I heard was that you can actually so like I said, you unlock the 4 bosses, or these 4 characters. So like I said, the girls first, and then you unlock a wizard or an alchemist, they call him, but he's like a wizard. And he does like these spells, and the last character you unlock is Alucard. I mean, it's not Alucard, but I mean it might as well be. He's a vampire, and then you can go into different areas with these different characters. But I heard that if you didn't take these characters, you can skip collecting them, and then you get power ups for your main character. But the game is much harder because you can't. Like, there are some parts where I just turn into a bat and fly through because it's just too hard. I'm like, screw this, I'm flying out of here. But yeah,
I like that is an option.
Yes, exactly. But that game is really fun. So I've been playing that. I did pick up the Street Fighter 30th edition, and realized I'm really bad at Street Fighter.
Really, really insanely good at Street Fighter. Already bad at Street Fighter.
Oh, are you? Or are you asking me?
I'm really bad, but I think everyone is either amazing at it or terrible at it. I don't really think there's a middle ground.
Yeah, I agree. I know. Well, so I do have a funny story about Street Fighter that I'll quickly tell. When I was in high school, my senior year, we went to Great America, which is like a theme park in America. It's great, and I went there, and they have this arcade. And where the Great America was, it's right out of Chicago, or not, I shouldn't say right out of Chicago, it's in Illinois. But where it was, there's a naval base, and there was some sailors there that were in the arcade, and I was playing Street Fighter, and this guy came up and started challenging me, and I beat him. I mean, he was in the Navy, and I beat him over and over and over and over and over again. I just think he spent like $5 or something like that. And at one point, he got so mad, he took his hat and he whipped it down. And at that point, I realized, I gotta let him win. And then I just let him win. But that was like my claim to fame for Street Fighter.
Nice. Yeah. I used to have a friend who was really good at fighting games. They were his whole thing. I can't remember which Street Fighter it was, but he had everyone come round and play with him. It was one of the older ones. And no one could beat him. And people started to get pretty close, like some of my other friends who are big on fighting games. So he kind of pulled out all the stops and started beating people using his feet.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Yeah, that's like insane. Is that guy, did he become a professional Street Fighter?
Well, he should have done. He could have done. He's a game dev. But I have no idea how that good.
That's crazy. So I have a quick question about that. So you might know this. Are game devs good at playing games?
I think in general it's just like everybody else, except for all the game devs I know. They either are better at one particular kind of game because they're the ones that they want to take inspiration from, so they play the most. Or any games outside of to play games outside of the game dev, so they're worse than other people. I find it either tends to go one of two ways.
That's funny. Yeah, I was just wondering that, like, Yeah, because I mean, I'm really bad at games. There's certain games that I think I'm good at, and I think it's just because I just like the genre, like Castlevania. Like I feel like I'm okay at Castlevania games, but in RPG games, but like fighting games, I'm so bad at, and yeah. Just curious.
I think most of the devs that I've known who have been great at games either were because they like taking inspiration from a particular genre, or because they just played so much when they were kids. You know, when they were deciding they wanted to be a game dev, that they've just got all that experience of just constantly playing games behind them.
Yeah.
And now they're really, really good. Brett's quite a lot like that. He was a massive gamer when he was younger, so now he's just like, I cannot beat him at Mario Kart. No one can. It's very hard to beat him at Mario Kart because he played so many hours when he was small.
Yeah, that's awesome. I should get that game, and so I can challenge you guys. That'd be fun. That would be a fun thing.
It?
Yeah.
It would be fun. God, did I tell you what I did the other day on Mario Kart?
No.
It was terrible. So I was playing online Mario Kart, and you know, before you go into it will kind of group you with 10 or 12 other people, and you'll kind of all stand together, all of your Miis stand together in the lobby, and you can talk to each other.
Yeah.
But you can just say things to each other from a set list. And I played a few rounds, and before and after in the lobby, I was always really nice, because I'm nice. I was just like, oh, good luck. Oh, great game, this is fun. And then eventually, after a few rounds, I won. When you win in the new one, you're kind of standing there in the lobby with your big crown on, and everyone was standing around me. It kind of puts you in the middle, and I meant to hit That Was Fun, and I accidentally hit What a Shame. So I'm standing there with my crown like, oh, what a shame. And then I was so mortified that I was like, I need to leave. So I just left. And Brett was like, that looks even worse because now you were really nice until you won, and you're like, oh, what a shame, bye losers, and you just vanished out of the lobby, and now I can never go back.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. What a shame, you guys are a bunch of losers. What a shame. I have no competition whatsoever. That is so Slytherin of you, I just want to say that.
I know, I'm kind of disappointed in myself that I'm not prouder of it than I am. Then
That's awesome.
Slytherin moment to date.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to pick that game up. I played a lot of the Mario Kart Wii, but I have not played the. I do have Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS, but I haven't played the new one yet. So
it's very pretty.
Yeah, it looks amazing. All right, so one last thing before we go. How can people get a hold of you on the social medias?
Me on the Twitters, my handle is BBE_Wakefield.
Nice.
Yep.
And you can get a hold of Gamerheads at GamerheadsPC on Twitter. That's the best way of getting a hold of us. You can also reach us out on Facebook. That's facebook.com/GamerheadsPodcast. You can email us at gamerheadspodcast@gmail.com. And I think that's about it. So, B, thank you so much for being part of the podcast. It's awesome to have you on the podcast.
I love being here. It's great.
Cool. And thanks for Kevin and T-Rex for joining us as well. And yeah, go out there, support them. Love to see this game make their goal, so that'd be cool. All right, for being myself and Jake and Ben, who are not here, thank you so much for listening to Gamerheads, and Gamerheads out.